My name is Layla Simmons. I am 34 years old, living and working in Minneapolis as a real estate attorney. Every morning I wake up to the hustle of the city. Cars roaring, people passing by without ever looking at one another. But deep down, I still feel tethered to a place where no one really sees me. Milford, Iowa. The small town where my family lives on a corn farm passed down from my great-grandfather. I left when I was 22 after a heated argument with my dad about going to law school instead of staying to farm like tradition demanded. Since then, I've been labeled the runaway, the daughter who only thinks about herself, as my mother loves to point out during holiday phone calls. Meanwhile, my brother Travis stayed in Milford. He never left the dusty, manure-scented fields, and for that, he became the family's torchbearer. No protests, no questions. Travis became their golden standard. He didn't even need to try. His mere presence was enough to be praised. I wasn't jealous that he stayed. I was angry that no matter what I did, I was always overlooked. Last winter, Travis called one evening. His voice was low, almost pleading. "Layla, the farm's about to go under. The electric bill, fertilizer, equipment repairs. Everything's piling up. Can you help? But don't tell Mom and Dad. They won't handle the shame of knowing they've failed." I paused for a few seconds. Then, I agreed. I started sending money every month, about $600, to the farm's account at the local bank. I trusted Travis to use it to pay off debt, buy seeds, keep things running. And most of all, I trusted he wouldn't take credit for what I was doing quietly. I was wrong. Each month, after I sent the money, the only thing I received were heavy, guilt-laced phone calls from my mother. "Travis is working himself to the bone, sweetie. He's out there from dawn to dusk keeping the farm alive, not like some people, who enjoy their comfortable city lives." I listened. I swallowed my anger. But every word sliced deeper. I was trying. I was helping silently. And all I got in return was cold condescension. Those phone calls started to wear on me. I'd stare at my paycheck deductions at night, wondering if it was worth it. And Travis? He never called to thank me. Not even a single text. As Christmas approached, I made the decision to go back to Milford. For the first time in 3 years. I thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe when they saw me, they'd realize I wasn't invisible. But the moment I stepped into that house, saw the sloppily decorated tree and Travis standing by the fireplace with a glass of wine, chatting like some savior, I knew. I was about to hear something that would make me want to smash the glass in my hand. My father looked up, voice booming through the room. "If it weren't for Travis, this farm would have collapsed. He's carried everything on his back for the past 6 months. We owe him everything." I froze. My wine glass nearly slipped from my hand. I glanced at Travis. He shrugged, took a sip, and smirked like it was the most natural thing in the world. I clenched my fists, lips pressed so tight they drew blood. Travis hadn't just accepted the credit, he'd stolen it. And my parents believed it like gospel. I knew I had to speak up. But not yet. I would wait. And when I did, the truth would be undeniable. That Christmas dinner unfolded under the warm yellow glow of an old chandelier hanging from the wooden ceiling, with the scent of roasted chicken and pumpkin pie filling the kitchen. But to me, the atmosphere wasn't comforting. It felt like a stage, and I was the unwilling audience, to a family drama everyone else was proudly performing in. Travis sat at the center of the table, buttoned-up shirt crisp, lifting a glass of red wine like he'd just finished a record-breaking harvest thanks to his natural leadership. My mother beamed with pride. Her eyes glossy after hearing Travis share the struggles he supposedly endured alone to keep the farm afloat. "Your brother really sacrificed a lot, Layla," she said, patting Travis on the shoulder. "If it weren't for him, this place wouldn't be standing." I set my fork and knife down and looked up. That sentence hit me like a punch to the chest. "Sacrificed?" I asked, doing my best to keep my voice from shaking. Exactly what did he sacrifice? My father frowned. Don't start again, Layla. It's the holidays. And I don't want any of your drama. I looked at Travis. He sat there unfazed, no guilt, no reaction. Then let me clarify, I said, pulling my phone from my purse. I've been sending $600 every month from my Minneapolis account to the Milford Bank branch. Starting in April. That's $5,400 so far. Travis hasn't put in a single cent. Silence. I held the phone out, showing the downloaded transaction receipts from my bank. My mother clutched her napkin. Layla, this is a family matter. There's no need to drag it all out like this. No need. I let out a dry laugh. If I don't, when exactly will anyone acknowledge the truth? How long until I get credit for saving this farm? When Travis buys another tractor and says it came from his savings. That's enough, Travis said calmly, like he was lecturing a child. You think I took your money? I don't recall ever receiving anything from you. I turned sharply to him. Then who texted me the account number and thanked me each time I transferred money? Who said not to tell mom and dad because they wouldn't handle knowing they failed? He shrugged. You can fake anything with a phone. Messages get deleted, right? The fury inside me boiled over. You think I'm making this up? Then I'll print every single bank statement, with your name, receiving account, branch code and timestamps. That's enough, Layla. My father cut in, his voice like a blade. We don't need you scripting some story again. It's Christmas. We won't tolerate any more insults. I stood up. A script? If anyone's acting here, it's Travis, and you two, you're just the loyal audience clapping along. You're just jealous, my mother snapped. You always try to be the center of attention, Layla. Ever since you left for law school, you've acted like you're better than everyone. I couldn't believe my ears. I left so I wouldn't have to work 12 hours a day under the sun for nothing. I left to build a life you never once acknowledged. But at least I never lied about who paid to save this damn farm. Travis leaned back, arms crossed. Go ahead, Layla. Print everything if it makes you feel better. Just don't expect them to believe you. You know where the trust in this family lies. I stood there, heart racing, hands trembling with rage. My father turned back to his wine like the conversation hadn't happened. My mother left the table, eyes deliberately averted. I understood then. Truth is never enough for those who've already chosen the lie. But I also understood one more thing. This game was over. Even if they turned their backs on me, I held the one thing stronger than denial. Proof. I left the dinner table just as the clock struck 9 p.m. Outside, snow had begun to fall heavily, blanketing my car in a quiet white layer, as if trying to hold me back. But nothing could stop me now. Clutching my purse, I walked quickly into the biting wind. The door slammed shut behind me, and no one called after me. That silence said it all. I had never truly been on their side. My old SUV gave a low groan as I started it in the 12-degree weather. I hit the gas and pulled away from that snow-covered road, leaving behind a house that should have been a place of safety, where my efforts were meant to matter. Now, the only thing keeping me going was fury. During the 4-hour drive from Milford back to Minneapolis, I didn't play music. I barely turned the heat on. I needed the sting of the cold to stay focused. Every mile that passed, I replayed Travis's words, my father's dismissive glances, my mother's weary frowns. They'd rather believe a liar than trust their own daughter. I got home just before 2 a.m. The city was silent, the streetlights casting a dull gold on the ice-slick sidewalks. I didn't go inside right away. I sat in the car for a few minutes, staring at the steering wheel, whispering to myself, like I needed to say it out loud one final time. They don't get forgiveness unless they face the truth. Sunday came. The bank was closed. I spent the whole day at home, printing every single transaction from my personal account through the banking app. But I knew that wouldn't be enough. My dad would say I faked it. My mom would shake her head and call me delusional. And Travis? He'd just sit there and smile. I needed original branch-verified copies, stamped, signed, irrefutable. Monday morning, I arrived at the Milford Bank branch the moment they opened. A blast of wind slapped my face as I stepped out of the car, but I didn't flinch. Inside, the warmth hit me with the faint scent of new carpet and holiday music. I walked straight to the counter. The woman who greeted me looked to be in her early 50s, glasses resting on the tip of her nose, name tag reading Carol. She gave me a polite smile as I explained what I needed. I'd like certified copies of all transactions I've made to the Simmons Farm account in Milford, from April through December. I need branch stamps and official verification. Carol hesitated slightly, eyes narrowing as she assessed how serious I was. I imagined she'd seen her share of people gathering evidence for lawsuits against family members. But I didn't care. She nodded. I'll need to verify your identity, and it might take a little while to retrieve everything. Would you mind waiting in the lounge? I waited for nearly 30 minutes. When Carol returned, she held a thick folder in her hands. My heart pounded. Here are all the transactions, she said. Each copy includes the date, time, amount, sending branch, receiving account, and the sender's name. We've added the branch seal and signature at the bottom. I opened the folder. My eyes skimmed each page. April, $600, 0 cents. May, $600, 0 cents. June, $600, 0 cents. 8 transfers, a total of $4,800, 0 cents. Every one of them had my name, digital signature, and the Minneapolis branch code. I thanked Carol, my voice steady but firm. This is exactly what I needed. You just helped me change everything. Walking back to my car, the snow was still falling, soft and persistent. But this time, I felt heat rush through me, not from anger alone, but from certainty. I placed the folder on the passenger seat and strapped it in with the seatbelt like it was precious cargo. Because it was. It was the truth, and from now on, no one would deny it. The next time I returned to Milford, I wouldn't come back as the misunderstood daughter. I'd return like a storm, carrying every line of black and white ink, and place it right on the table for them to see. And this time, no one would be able to look away. I returned to Milford on Tuesday morning, as thick fog still clung to the bare cornfields, and the cold air numbed my fingers despite the gloves. The Simmons farm stood quietly ahead, as if it had never been the epicenter of the emotional storm inside me. But this time, I wasn't here seeking approval. I brought the truth. And the truth doesn't need to be embraced. I parked in front of the porch, clutching the stamped and verified folder from the bank. Dates, figures, signatures, undeniable. I walked into the house without knocking. Mom was peeling potatoes in the kitchen. Dad sat in the living room, eyes glued to the morning news. Travis, of course, was calmly having breakfast, sandwich in one hand and a warm glass of milk in the other. No one greeted me. No one asked why I had come back after leaving 2 days ago. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of a spoon tapping against a glass. A quiet challenge. I walked to the dining table and silently placed the papers on its worn wooden surface. These are the original receipts from the Minneapolis branch. Stamped, verified. Every transaction from my account directly to this farm's. Travis glanced over briefly, then took another bite of his sandwich, as if I'd just dropped off a pizza bill. My dad lowered the TV remote, frowning. What are you trying to do now, Layla? I leaned slightly toward him, my voice low but firm. I'm not trying anything. I'm presenting the truth, whether you choose to believe it, that's on you. My mother wiped her hands on her apron, stepped over and picked up the stack. She skimmed a few lines, lips pressed tight. Signatures are easy to fake. Technology can do anything these days. A stamp doesn't prove much. I laughed, cold, like a January wind. Then call the bank. I included Carol's business card. She's the branch manager. She'll confirm every transfer, every time I came in. You want a confrontation? Go for it. Travis pushed his chair back, arms crossed. You really think paperwork is enough to force me into confessing your little fantasy? I don't remember you sending anything. And even if you did, I never asked you to. You did it on your own, so don't expect a round of applause. I stared straight at him, every word sharp. I don't need your thanks. But don't pretend I never existed. Dad stood up, voice rising. That's enough. You came back here just to ruin what little peace we have? You've always had to be the center of attention. Travis isn't perfect, but at least he stayed. He didn't run off like you did. I scoffed. So leaving to live a life where I have a voice is shameful now? Mom slammed the papers down, eyes sharp as blades. If you felt so mistreated, why send the money in the first place? I inhaled deeply. That question cut more than anything else. But I didn't flinch. Because I thought I was saving something worth it. I was wrong. I looked around the house. The old photos, the wooden door frames, the chipped teacups on the shelf. All the same. Only I had changed. I won't send another cent, I said flatly. And don't call. I owe no one here anything. Mom turned away. Dad said nothing, just slumped back into his chair, like he'd lost a chess match he refused to see coming. Travis opened his mouth, but I raised my hand. Don't. If you have any dignity left, now's the time to stay quiet. I turned and walked to the door without looking back. The sky outside was gray, but my chest felt lighter. I wasn't leaving because I'd been pushed away. I was leaving because I had chosen to end the toxic bond I once tried so hard to preserve, and as my car rolled off that dirt road onto the highway, I knew there would be no coming back. 6 months had passed since I walked out of my family's home in Milford into the biting cold. I didn't call, they didn't reach out. No letters, no texts, not a single word. As if I had never existed in the Simmons bloodline. Summer in Minneapolis was hotter than I expected, but nothing compared to the slow-burning heat in my chest every time I remembered Travis's face that day. Arrogant, indifferent, like the world owed him praise. I buried myself in work, as if life offered only two choices: succeed or be swallowed whole. I chose to win. Every contract signed, every legal file resolved, felt like untying another knot inside me. I was no longer the little sister waiting to be acknowledged. I was Layla Simmons, a woman who knew exactly what she was worth. Until one August afternoon, just after wrapping up a long meeting, my phone rang. The caller ID stopped me in my tracks. A landline from Milford. I nearly declined the call, but my finger hovered. Curiosity, or more honestly a gut warning, made me answer. My mother's voice trembled on the other end, quieter than I'd ever heard. Layla? It's Mom. Can we talk? I didn't reply immediately. 10 seconds of silence passed, like a full indictment. What is it? I asked, colder than I meant to. She took a long breath, then started. The farm was in crisis. The main harvester had broken down in the middle of the season. The irrigation system had failed. Bills were piling up. They tried applying for a loan, but their poor credit history shut every door. Travis said he had it under control, she went on. He promised there was a backup plan, but there wasn't. I said nothing. A part of me felt a cold satisfaction. Another part felt a quiet sadness. After all, that was the land where I'd grown up, where every spring I ran through cornfields in muddy boots. Mom's voice cracked. We were wrong, Layla. All of us. Travis. He finally confessed everything yesterday. I sat upright. Confessed What? The money, that you'd sent it for 8 months. The lies he told. I didn't know what I expected, but hearing my mother admit it out loud lodged something in my throat. I couldn't believe he did that, she continued. He made us all turn our backs on you, when you were the one keeping us from falling apart. I closed my eyes. A part of me wanted to shout, "I told you so!" But I held it in. Your father's devastated, she added. He hasn't left his room in 2 days. What about Travis? I asked. Like, he hasn't said much since. Like he finally realized how far things had gone. He told us he was jealous of you. That he felt worthless. Whenever he saw how successful you'd become. I scoffed. And now he realizes it? How convenient. She didn't respond. I don't know what you want from me, I said slowly. Forgiveness? A handshake? Or money? No, not money, she quickly replied. I just want you to know. I'm sorry. Truly. For not believing you. For protecting Travis no matter what. I was wrong. I sat in silence, watching the sunset stretch across my office. Warm orange-red light painted the walls like fire. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, I said. But I'm glad you finally faced the truth. We just hope you'll give us a chance to make things right, she said, her voice on the verge of tears. I didn't make any promises. But I didn't hang up, either. And in that moment, for the first time in years, I felt like my words, finally, carried weight. That afternoon, just after I washed my hands following a tense client meeting, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Especially not on a weekday. Through the peephole, I saw my parents, William and Martha Simmons. Like a memory I had locked away behind Milford's door. I opened the door and looked at them in silence for a few seconds. They both looked more worn than I remembered. My father was gaunt, his silver hair matted under an old baseball cap. My mother clutched her handbag tightly, fingers white around the strap, like she was holding on to her last ounce of courage. Ayla, she said, her voice hoarse, whether from nerves or age I couldn't tell. Can we talk for a moment? I stepped aside. They walked in, glancing around my small apartment as if stepping into a foreign world. And that space was no longer their daughter's. It was mine. A space with no room for lies or favoritism. We sat across from each other in the living room. I crossed my arms and looked straight at them. Get to the point, I said. I don't have much time. My father cleared his throat. We're here to apologize. I said nothing. I wanted to hear it all. Wanted them to wade through the mess they had created. We were wrong about a lot of things, he continued. About you, about Travis, about everything that happened this past year. And we know it's too late to say sorry. My mother nodded, her eyes turning red. When you brought the receipts, I didn't believe you. I thought you made it all up just to tear Travis down. But after he admitted everything, I realized. I have no excuse. I clenched my hands lightly. So why are there only 2 of you here? Where's Travis? They exchanged glances. My father answered. We thought it might be easier if it was just us. He's not ready. He's ashamed. I let out a dry laugh. Still the same excuses. He needs time. He can't handle pressure. And what about me? When I was called a liar in front of my whole family. When I showed proof and got shut down. Who thought I needed time? No response. I don't want an apology on his behalf, I said, my tone sharp. If he's an adult, he should take responsibility himself. You 2 coming in his place only proves nothing's changed. I'm still the one who's expected to understand, to absorb everything, while Travis gets to be protected like a child who never does wrong. My mother dabbed her eyes with a tissue. I know. We coddled Travis too much. Because he stayed. Because he worked the land his whole life. But that wasn't fair to you. And I regret not seeing it sooner. I looked at them for a long time. I saw exhaustion. I saw remorse. But I also saw old wounds. Ones I'd carried through all of adulthood just for not being believed. Now I understand, I said softly. Things didn't fall apart because Travis lied. They fell apart because you chose to believe what was easier instead of facing the truth. My father nodded, like he'd just swallowed something bitter. You're right, and I won't make excuses. I stood up. I appreciate you coming. But forgiveness needs action, not words. If Travis wants to apologize, he can come find me. I won't stop him. My mother stood too, gently taking my hand. We're not asking for forgiveness. We're just hoping you'll let us start over? Even a little. I pulled my hand back. Not harshly, just firmly. I'm not promising anything. But at least today? I was heard. They left in silence. The door clicked shut behind them, leaving me in stillness. But it didn't feel cold anymore. I haven't forgiven. Not fully. But for the first time, I no longer felt like the one standing behind the invisible wall they'd spent years building. A week after my parents' visit, just as I was beginning to salve it all away and settle back into the rhythm of work, the doorbell rang again. This time, I didn't need to look through the peephole to know who it was. Travis. I opened the door. He stood there, hands tucked into the pockets of a faded denim jacket. Old baseball cap pulled low over tired eyes. He looked worn out. Dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. Hey? He said softly, like he was afraid any louder would shatter what little peace remained between us. I stepped aside. If you're here to deny everything again, you should turn around now. No, Travis swallowed hard. I'm here to tell the truth. We sat across from each other in the living room. No tea. No small talk. Just silence. And the weight of a past neither of us could ignore. He drew a deep breath, then started. I know I was awful. Truly. I lied. I let everyone believe I was the one keeping the farm alive. When it was you. I knew it. I knew everything. I folded my arms, silent, letting him dig through it all. I was jealous of you, he admitted, eyes on the floor. You were always the smart one, the one who went places, had a name. I stayed behind, working dirt, driving tractors. In Milford they praised me just for not leaving. But I knew I hadn't done anything special. His voice trembled. When the debts started piling up, I panicked. Then you called, said you'd help. And I let you. I took the money. But I couldn't bring myself to tell Mom and Dad. At first I meant to. Really. But then Mom kept praising me. Dad kept saying, Travis is the only real man holding this farm together. I was scared. If I told the truth, they'd be disappointed. He looked up at me. No smugness, no defensiveness. Just a raw, stripped-down version of the brother I used to know. And when you brought the receipts, he went on, I panicked. I thought if I played dumb, stayed quiet like always, it would blow over. But you didn't back down. You stood up. And I knew I'd gone too far. Then, without warning, Travis dropped his head into his hands and cried. Not the kind of cry you fake. It was low, heavy, and full of shame. It stunned me. I had never seen my brother cry. Not as a kid, not when Grandpa died. Not even after he broke his leg in that tractor accident at 21. But now, at 38, he was falling apart in front of me. I'm not the one who needs the apology, I said quietly. You need to forgive yourself first. He looked up. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know. I know I was wrong. And I regret it, truly. I stood and walked to the window, staring out at the street where golden leaves were beginning to blanket the sidewalk. I needed the distance. Space to breathe. You were the only one I trusted, I said, still facing the glass. And you took advantage of that, not just with what you did, but with your silence. Behind me, Travis didn't move. Forgiveness is a journey, I continued. And if you really want to change, don't start with tears. Start with living better, from now on. I turned around. I don't know if this sibling bond can be rebuilt. But today, I saw honesty in you. For the first time. He nodded, tears still clinging to his cheeks. I won't ask anything of you, I just needed you to hear it. And, thank you for listening. I opened the door. Travis stepped out, but before leaving, he turned back. I'll try to make it right, no matter how long it takes. I said nothing. I didn't slam the door behind him. I just stood there, letting the autumn breeze sweep into the room. A room that had, for far too long, held only the chill of abandonment. 3 months after that conversation, I received a message from my mother. Your father's learning how to use Excel to manage the farm's finances. Travis no longer handles the books. Short. No pleading, no guilt. But for the first time, they were clearly trying to change something tangible. Not long after, my father sent me an email. So rare I checked 3 times to make sure it wasn't a scam. Inside was a detailed irrigation system repair plan, a full cost estimate, and a simple closing line. Would like your input. No need to send money. Just want your thoughts. It took me nearly an hour to read through it. Not because it was complicated, but because I wasn't used to being asked for advice without it being tied to financial obligation. In some way my family was changing. Slowly. Awkwardly. But undeniably. Travis had also started keeping a healthier distance. No more apology texts, no unannounced visits. But one day I received a small package, from Milford. Inside was a gray wool scarf I used to love, and had lost during my freshman year of college. Attached was a handwritten note. Mom just found this in an old box, thought you might still want it. No long letters, no emotional overtures, just that small gesture, and it told me all I needed to know. My mother was trying. I haven't gone back to the farm. Not yet. Maybe never like before. But I no longer avoid their calls. Our conversations still have pauses, but they're no longer cold. We talk about the harvest, the weather, sometimes corn and barley prices. Things that once felt meaningless, but now feel a little warmer when spoken honestly. I used to think that in order to feel loved, I needed them to validate everything I'd done, apologize for every hurt they caused. But now I understand. Sometimes, simply stopping the lies, the favoritism, the denial, is a beginning. Once, when I called to wish my mother a happy birthday, she didn't ask if I'd eaten or slept, like she usually did. Instead she said, Travis is relearning basic accounting. He says, if he wants to do something right for the farm, he has to understand where he went wrong. I didn't answer right away. I just laughed. For the first time, hearing his name didn't make me angry. It made me feel lighter. We'll never go back to how things were. The relationship between me and Travis is still cracked, and I don't think I'll ever fully trust him again, but I'm no longer carrying the silent ache of being dismissed. I know my place now. Not as a burden. Not as the child who had to prove her worth. Just as Layla, a daughter, a sister, a woman who has earned the right to be believed. One evening, standing by the apartment window as the season's first snow fell over Minneapolis rooftops, I thought back to last Christmas. The fake warmth, the harsh accusations, and the folder of receipts I threw on the table, desperate to be seen. I don't need receipts anymore. I don't need proof to validate who I am. I've lived. I've stood up. I've spoken the truth. And more importantly, I no longer shrink for anyone. Next spring, if things feel right, maybe I'll accept the invitation to visit. Not to rescue anyone. Not for recognition. But simply to return. Stand in that old field. Take a deep breath. And know that this time, they'll see me. Exactly as I am. No more. No less. Layla's story proves that true recognition doesn't come from silent sacrifice, but from speaking up and standing firm in your worth. In real life, many have felt unseen or dismissed by their own families. But like Layla, when we stop seeking approval from those unwilling to listen, we create space for healing and growth. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to live on without letting the past define us. What do you think about Layla's journey and how she faced her family? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family, choices, and self-worth.